Welcome back, everyone. Scootsy16 here with another episode of the Chem Lock League, and we are back with the off-season. It was a heartbreaking finish for the Tundras, who fell very flat in the second round of the playoffs against the Chompers. We ended up losing 2-1. We never allowed more than one run in a game, but we could only score in one game. The big win in the first matchup against the Chompers, and then we lost the next two in a 1-0 shutout. Chompers go on to get swept by the Swampers. Swampers getting their first championship in franchise history. And so where do we go from here? Well, it was a very rocky season as we started off really flat. We struggled for most of the year, but then that back half of the season, we turned it on. The offense started producing, the pitching did its job, and we made it into the playoffs as a wild card seed. And I think it was just a little bit of the nerves that got to us, but I think we're ready to return. So what do we do in the offseason? I have reviewed the teams. I have reviewed the players that are available in the free agent pool this year, and it's going to be a very interesting offseason. There were definitely some players that have some really solid traits. I'll show those off here in just a little bit. But I feel like I think this is another year where we're going to feel like this wasn't what we wanted it to be. I feel like there's going to be a little bit of meat left on the bone, if you will, where we won't get the right players in the right places. But I still think we can put together a team that can compete. You're going to, of course, see some players coming back from our roster as they are today. And I'm excited to show off what this new team's going to look like. So a couple of things I want to note before we get any further. I got some feedback and some suggestions off of the last off-season video, and so I'm going to do things a little bit differently here today. Before we get into starting to make some roster moves and talking about the players that'll be joining the team, I figured it'd be a good idea for us to highlight some players that are in the free agent pool that are notable, that may not even have an opportunity to join us this year, but just to give you some sense of what the free agent pool looks like. One thing that I want to point out before we get there, though, is a big retire in the offseason. Trevor Schmidt, at age 39, he just won the MVP, and with the Rakers, they got knocked out in the first round of the playoffs against the Tundras. He opts to ride off into the sunset, maybe trying out the game of basketball. So he decides to retire. Of course, you can see there's some other players that retired as well, some names that we've heard before, but nobody else stands out quite like Trevor Schmidt, who decides to retire. You can see a handful of players maybe you've recognized from playing against them that are in the free agent pool, and we'll talk about some of those. So let's go ahead and take a look at the pool, and I guess we'll start out with some of the notable high talent players that are available this year. But I don't plan to sign these players that we'll highlight here. I'm not going to talk about all of them just due to time. Anyone you see with a star is somebody I'll come back to, because those are players that I am trying to see if we can get to join the team. So a couple of players to highlight here. We will talk about Spitty Miranda. Interesting name here is he's 33, has tier 3 specialist, which would be for us as for lefties. Really high talented long reliever, but definitely not somebody that we could make work with this team. We also have Iceman Grubbs, who was the number 1 star in the All-Star game year 1. Of course, I wanted to highlight him because he's 22, and he'd be an incredible player to have as a core piece on a team maybe that you're playing with, but with that low contact rating, definitely a bit of a concern. And what would be only tier 1 RBI 0 showing on him. He has room for development, but I don't think we want to pay that much for a player that we want to try and develop. We want them to be already elite at that age and at that price. Wanted to highlight also Bentley DeLeon. Bentley is a 23-year-old, what would be an ace on the team. Elite in a lot of capacities here, but no traits to speak of. Definitely not somebody that, somebody that's interesting, but we won't be bringing in. There is Jackson Pugh. Pugh was formerly of the Rakers, I believe. Yep. And he had a few great seasons. You can see how talented he is. He is a second baseman, He is an A. He'd be a good option to consider for us, but he is disciplined, which means that we can only have him on the team outside of those other traits. And I also wanted to highlight Abet Paul, another very talented player and young, 23 years old. She was a all-star in year 1, where she actually made it in the she was number 4 in the top 10 in the MVP voting. She tied for first in home runs with 6. She also had a 440 batting average and 13 RBIs, which was incredibly impressive. So wanted to highlight those top tier players. In addition to that, I figured I'd also highlight some players that have actually, let's talk about some notable rookies next. So some stats here. I actually went through all the players, found the rookies. There are a total of 38 rookies that came in this year. So 38 players brand new to the league in this free agent class. Of those 38, 24 are position players and 14 are pitchers. So we have a lot of rookies, right? That sounds really awesome. A lot of young players influenced into the league, right? Nope. There are so many players of different age groups, and I do want to highlight a couple of those, so we'll sort by position here, and we'll get into some of them. So, notable rookies. One of them is Chico Lansley here, and boy, does he look intriguing. If this was a very flexible team that I was building in this Chem Lock, he's somebody that I would look to. If this was the favorites, if you were able to follow that series at all, I would absolutely be paying for Chico Lansley to come in. 25 years old, elite defender behind the plate, has tier 3 little hack for the favorites, and would only be tier 1 with us, with the Tundras, and also has rally starter, which is negligible to me, but so talented as a young rookie catcher. I also wanted to highlight, this kind of swings in the other direction. Take a look at Julie Snow here. She is a 39-year-old rookie. Talented, for sure, but 39 years old coming into the league for the first time. Just fascinating what this rookie class looks like, because it just doesn't make any sense, right? They're just confusing how that all played out the way that it did with these rookies. I think some of these players are actually overflow from the original shuffle draft, because I actually did recognize, wasn't planning to talk about him, but Gene Gray. Remember, Gene Gray was on that shuffle draft option that we chose not to draft because of his age. He's a rookie this year, so thought that was pretty interesting. Of these left fielders, another guy I wanted to highlight was Chern Romero. Romero here, tier 3 power versus right-handed pitchers, tier 3 bad ball hitter. So intriguing. If we, one, didn't already have Adriana Harrington, and 2, that contact rating right there is just abysmal to me. I think if that power versus righty trait was either tough out, or if it was contact versus righties, that would be somebody I would absolutely plan to try and work my way into bringing him to the team. But just don't think we can make it work, despite those traits being really interesting. And then lastly, where are you at? Because I took my notes and I didn't take them properly. I think it's, Otis Riley here. He is a player that I wanted to highlight due to his traits, but not for us, because he has high pitch and fastball hitter. I saw him and I was like, is this like a different version of Blamo Tamale? I thought that was pretty interesting. If we had tier 3 disciplined, I would be bringing him in, no doubt. But of course, that doesn't really line up with our team chemistry, with it being tier 1 for both of those. So those are the rookies that I wanted to highlight. Of course, there are so many more, but just due to time, I only wanted to touch on a few of them. There's also a couple of other rookies that we're planning to bring in that I'll be talking about as we get to them. Next, let's talk about former All-Stars. So I highlighted a few players that made it to the All-Star team and that I just wanted to quick touch on, just to let you know some of the options that are available, not necessarily ones we'll be bringing in, though. You have Harold Simpson. Harold is a 2-time All-Star, so he's one of only 3 players that have made it to both All-Star games, and just wanted to point him out. Not somebody we're planning to be bringing in. I already talked about Iceman Grubbs, the right fielder that was playing for the Burners for the last couple of years. He is a former All-Star. Then, of course, we already talked about Abet Paul and how successful she was. Also, Jaden Arkansas. The name didn't ring a bell to me until I was looking back into the stats from the All-Star games, and he was for the Platypi in year one. Had 5 home runs and 12 RBIs. Had a really good season. He didn't stand out too much for me, but saw those numbers and figured I'd point him out. Pitching wise, you'll recognize a couple of names, including Crisp Harris. He was an elite all-star. He actually started one of the all-star games. I think it was the first year, right? Yeah, he started the first year for the Yang Conference from the Foresters, had an amazing year. So he's a free agent. And we'll also note that what do we got here? 2 long relievers that I wanted to point out that were free agents, that are free agents that were former All-Stars. That would include Delmar Tannen. Delmar pitched incredibly well for the Swoops in year one. He was number 6 in the top 10, number 1 in saves with 4. He had a 1.06 ERA, so really impressive year one for the Swoops. And then Norbert O'Neill last year for the Rushes. He was number 2 in the top 10 for WHIP. He was number 4 for saves. He was number 5 for opponent batting average. And he was number 8 for ERA. So just a really solid season for him. An interesting name and a player that I would be open to considering if the price falls and if the chemistry lines up, but probably not going to make that work. And the last thing I'll point out, and then we'll finally get into the team, I wanted to highlight some of the players that have really good traits that would be really interesting for us, but either don't work out because of price or because of chemistry or just because of some other things that may not rub me the right way. The first one would be Ren Dozenrolls. Actually, for a long time, considered him to be our new primary catcher. That defense is incredible. The arm is elite. Tier 3 RBI hero. Super, super intriguing to me, and only 24 years old. But the power and contact ratings are a little bit lower than I'd like. And as I was looking at things, I actually realized that Eric Lozano is almost the exact same player. He's definitely weaker in the defensive category, which I'm not a big fan of, but he's the same age. He's actually slightly better in the power and contact ratings. And then he'll also start with Tier 3 first pitch slayer in the first pitch of every at-bat. So that is why we're more intrigued with Eric Lozano here. And I would encourage you to let me know why I'm making a mistake by not going with Ren Dozenrolls here. I'd love to hear it in the comments below. But as you'll see, the price and the valuation here are going to make a difference in this year's roster construction. At third base, there was Mateo Compton. Mateo was really interesting to me from a trait standpoint with that Tier 3 left-handed power, which is already really amazing. He has the contact rating that's incredibly high. Big hack would it be at Tier 1, which means it's going to take minus 20 contact, but fine. He gets a boost in power, not a big deal. The problem was he can't be our DH. He's too expensive for that. And we're not starting him at third base. He is too weak of a defender, so we ended up passing on Mateo Compton here. At shortstop, we have Abel Lowbrow. We've heard his name quite a few times in this series, and he has Tier 3 RBI hero, but as a shortstop, that arm is lower than I'd like it to be, and I also want to highlight that he is a disciplined player, which makes things a little bit more difficult for us. In left field, we actually had a lot of options to consider. Some players that were really interesting to me that I want to take a quick note to highlight here include Snack Jimenez, who, again, big hack, but also RBI hero. Really, really good player, but a little more expensive. And again, we have Harrington with us. Also, Gene Gray would have that Tier 3 bad ball hitter, but at 36 years old, and again, a little more expensive than we'd like. Of course, we're talking about left field, which is where Harrington is starting. Elias Gongham, another player that's interesting, would have Tier 3 clutch, but again, he's 34 and he's also scholarly, which rules him out just due to the chemistry itself. And I also wanted to quick touch on Baldwin. Baldwin is still a player I'll keep my eye on because he is 26, which is a reasonable age. His weakest attribute is contact, which he would get a boost against lefties. And he has Tier 3 cannon arm, which means that he'll get an extra boost throwing from left field. So he's intriguing, but again, too expensive for a backup, and we won't be having him as a starter in left field. In right field, you will remember him for being a menace against us in the playoffs, was Ari Hammerhead. And Ari's only 21 years old, didn't realize how cheap he was. He's also only 5.4 in his valuation, which is super intriguing to me, because if you'll see, he has the tier 3 stimulated trait, which activates 20% of the time at max level, a chance to get that big boost of juiced in his fitness level, which is a huge jump in all of his attributes at that time, which would be the 7th inning, the bottom of the 7th or later. So I really considered bringing him in, but him being disciplined just will not work out for us, which is incredibly unfortunate. And the pitching department, a couple of players I want to highlight that have great traits would be Happy Hudson. He's disciplined, which is unfortunate. He's a former all-star as well, but he has tier 3 K collector, which, oh man, I want it so bad, but it's just not going to work for this team, especially with the catching options that we have. In addition to Hudson, there's also in the long reliever department, where you at, buddy? Long reliever. Where? Why can't I read? What the heck? Maybe it's not a long reliever. Give me 1 second. I can't even read where I'm looking. Why can't I find this player? Are they just a regular reliever? There he is. Okay, it was Sound Turnip. Don't know why I have him listed as a long reliever, but Turnip is a reliever. K collector. No more said there. Super interesting player, but unfortunately disciplined, so it's not going to really pay off for us there. In the reliever department, you'll also find Atlas Mirthright, who has tier 3 stimulated, has 5 pitches as a reliever. The concern for me was the tier 1 surrounded trait, but also that 36 accuracy, which definitely gives me pause. But we have some solutions there. We'll get back to those in just a moment. There is Ramon Plows, a reliever with what would be tier 3 workhorse at age 22. So fascinating, but it's scholarly and it really won't work for us. So I'm so bummed that we can't see what that looks like. And maybe something changes later on that can get us to bring him in, but just wanted to really highlight that could be something that could be really cool to see. And then the last one I'll highlight, and then we'll finally go forward, is Linfield Hunt, who has tier 3 reverse splits as a lefty, which would impact every single right-handed and switch hitting batter. So fascinating to see that player, and maybe he's somebody that ends up working out onto the team, but don't plan to be bringing him in. Just wanted to highlight him because of his trait. So I hope that was enjoyable, just to kind of see some unique players that we would be thinking about bringing in. Now it's time for us to get into everything, because we're 18 minutes in, and I want to make sure I don't run out of time here. So let's start with the team. Who do we plan to bring back? All of this is subject to change based on how outcomes play out, but who do we plan to bring back? Well, neither of the catchers. Unfortunately, that means that Gadman is out this year. He's getting a little bit older. He hasn't been able to produce much on the offensive side of things, and as you saw, we have some offensive options that we're interested in. So Gadman not likely to return. Simon Baxter, I didn't see a cheap backup option that was viable for us, and so it's likely that Simon Baxter is coming back for another year. Despite all of his regression, he's still the most viable candidate with that tier 2, or would be tier 3 cannon arm trait. Kramer, likely to come back, just didn't really see any good first base options. We'll also see Jacques Dennis continue to be our primary DH this year. Next, at second base, we're going to see a different option. We'll talk about that in just a second. Christian Black planning to project as our primary third baseman. And again, disappointing that we didn't have better options at third base, but that is what we're likely to see. Flip Bauer is planning to come back. Same with Adriana Harrington, Anya Corona, Zeke Price, and Amos Get Wrecked. So we will see one change in the outfield. We'll talk about that one in just a second. In the starting rotation, yeah, you're ready for this? We will have a brand new top 4. Actually, Nuevo Russo will be coming back, at least as planned for now, will be our number 4 starter. So Yeah, brand new rotation, which is scary, but I'm excited about. Very sad to see Resplendent and Potter go, but price is just too much for us. And with what you'll see our options are, we definitely needed to make some tough decisions. We also needed to spend some money in the bullpen. So Magnus Rivas will come back. He's going to be our long reliever this year. Of course, we'll know Ellen Booth is coming back. Same with Quincy Healthy, but we will have two other options in the bullpen outside of Bango and outside of Josue Kelly. We'll talk about those as we get to them. So who is coming in? We already talked about Eric Lozano will be our starting catcher this year, and Simon Baxter will be the backup. Again, not many good options in at first base. I'll show some of the traits here if you want to pause. I'll also quickly show the contact ratings as well. The attributes as well, if you want to peek at that, just to see what options are available. Second base pissed me off so much. There's only this many options. What is that? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10-ish second baseman. And I want you to see this. Look at how many players are in chemistry options that we would consider. The top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 of the top 10 second basemen, all in either scholarly or disciplined, which just cannot work for us. So I was thinking about it. Do I bring back Northern West? Do I bring back Tirehead? And I got myself a little creative, and I want to hear what you all think. At shortstop, I'll come back to third base in just a second. At shortstop, we are going to be starting rookie Reg Stevens. Wedge here is 19 years old. He is an elite defender. Way too slow for my liking, but good contact. He'll have magic hands, which will help him with that slow break. He also bats from the left side. So who's going to be starting at second base then? Because I thought we had Flip Bauer as our starting shortstop, right? Flip is going to move over to second base. He's going to be our primary second baseman. He has the weaker arm. He's a good fielder, so that shouldn't impact his ability to play second base well, and he is going to be our starting second baseman all year long. He is pretty much a better version of Wedge Stevens in all capacities except for fielding, but I am going to be getting a little creative with how we're going to work things out. The other infielder that we're going to be bringing in, we already know that Christian Black is our starting third baseman, but Raiden Coleman is coming back to the team as our backup option and probably platooning at third base based on production. The reason I made this choice was, one, because of the defense. So realizing that we'll have Wedge and Flip that can go to shortstop. We didn't really have another option at third base. So if Coleman didn't play well, we were probably going to have to put Jacques Dennis at third base, which we already know how awful that sounds, right? So Coleman is really the only option that can play the left side if either of those shortstops go down or if Black isn't playing well. And the reason I'm planning to bring Black back is because he's getting paid $2.9 million. And what we saw from him production-wise, his talent level, it's too valuable to pass up on keeping him on the team at that price. So we're planning to keep him. So that's our infield. The outfield is only getting one name added to the roster that's not on the team already, and that is going to be Aiden Rubio. He is now going to be our primary center fielder, and we're going to shift Zeke Price over to right field. Why bringing in Aiden Rubio? The elite speed, the elite fielding, but look at those two traits. Power versus lefties, he gets a boost. Tough out, every time he gets in a 2-strike count, he gets plus 50 contact. His hitting rating will go way higher when he's in the right situations, which we're going to be planning to place him in. What this also means is when we come and bring Rubio in for Trampleson, Get Wrecked will be our backup outfielder. But he is now a viable option to come in to cover when necessary. We just don't have to rely on his very inconsistent bat every single game. And if Rubio's not playing well, Price moves back to center, Get Wrecked goes to right, etc. So we have some flexibility here that I'm pretty excited about. Lastly, let's talk about the bullpen, and then we'll get started here. I'm sorry, the starting rotation and the pitching staff here. New ace in the staff is going to be Tate Nash. He just was your number number 3 in the top 10 as a starter for the Woodsmiths last year. So we're going to have him as our new ace, and he'll have tier 3 workhorse and tier 3 rally stopper. So we finally have traits that can be boosted from somebody that we're paying money for. Number 2 starter will be Gabriel Wankerstein, who is a rookie this year. Gabriel Wankerstein, 23 years old, no traits, but just a pretty solid prospect that I think we can get some talent out of and hopefully some success from as he continues to develop. Emmy Dixon, who was your all-star and MVP last year, I'm going to bring her in, excuse me. She's 36, yes, but she will have tier 3 workhorse, which is boosted even higher with us than it was at tier 1 for the Firebirds, and she'll have the tier 1 elite 4-seam fastball. I'm not super optimistic that she'll play to the same level as she was last year, but her stats were so incredibly good. I mean, 22 out of 24 possible innings and 3 complete games, 2 shutouts there. Like, this was too good for me to pass up the opportunity to bring her in. And then your number 4 starter, as we talked about, will be Nuevo Russo. He's 39. He's probably going to regress. We might look for other options, but just for the cost and for the chemistry, that was the option that we had to work with and the number 4 spot. We already talked about our options in the bullpen, and there's really only going to be 2 new names. One you'll already recognize, but a top tier name here, Holden Stiffbottom, will have tier 3 rally stopper, and he is likely going to be the pitcher that now saves us from having to worry about Ellen Booth coming in every single game. He will hopefully hold up and help Booth out. The other player that we'll be bringing in is Ezra Wong. You remember him from the first season, but due to the chemistry structure and everything, price-wise, he is likely the player that we're planning to bring in to help out the bottom of the bullpen there for maybe some mop-up situations, but he shouldn't be terrible when he does come in. So with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and start making some moves. We're going to start by bringing in Raiden Coleman. He is going to be 1 million below his price point, which is perfect for us. Let's save as much money as possible, and he is going to replace, let's start with Makai Nornerwest. We'll get rid of him just to give us a little bit of that flexibility in the surplus as we're making some of these moves. If you haven't been to any of these off-season videos for the chemistry lock, I will be fluctuating through the chemistry structure for now, but by the end of the off-season, you will see us at tier 3 for competitive, tier 3 for spirited, and tier 3 for crafty. So let's go ahead and get this first move out of the way. Coleman's back in, and Nornerwest, who was very disappointing for us, will be let go. All right, anyone else that's of price point right now? No, and Nuevo Russo is the closest one at a 5.6. Of the options that we're going to be bringing in, there are a couple that are a bit pricey, but I am going to be kind of speeding things up a little bit just due to that long intro, so thank you for bearing with me. And give me some feedback. Is that how you would like these videos to go going forward? Should I talk about them as I go through the rounds, or is there a different way you'd like to hear some of this information? Would love to hear those responses in the comment section. Let's go ahead and sim through, and I really only will be highlighting players that we have been looking at and are interested in. Already see some names that we had on the team for a little while, and we're probably going to make a quick move through the first few rounds here. I'll stop at round 10, and we'll see where we're at. Not likely to see anybody ready to move just yet. And no, nobody's of price that we're interested in right now. Nobody with traits that there is Abel Lowbrow, but again, at shortstop and disciplined, we can't be bringing him in. We already know what we get from Rossi and from Larson, so we're not interested in them. Grayweather, interesting, but no, not as a closer. And Alexis with Tough Out, interesting, but not interested. So that's going to be it for, and there's Caden Success, who's at his price point. But again, we already have our one extra player, which is going to be Lozano at catcher. So So we have a couple of players that are approaching, including Nuevo Russo. Interesting note here. So he's worth $6 million, but he's 39 years old. I will likely let him drop below his price point a little while before bringing him in. Hopefully that'll give us a little bit of breathing room in the surplus, which I think we might be a bit tight on in this offseason. Quickly panning ahead to see if any of our higher priced players are getting close. Nobody's below $1 million, really. That's notable. Simon is another player we're going to wait to get below that price point for. And yeah, we're not close just yet on any of these players that we're eyeing. Tate Nash, one of the most expensive players right now, and they're going to probably be signed last. So we'll sim ahead a couple of more rounds. Finley Curtis, former All-Star, goes to the War Wagons. So we have to deal with that. I think from the Cutters previously. I'm probably going to go round by round now just to be safe. And looking ahead, Nuevo Russo's at 0.1 million under. We're going to let that go down maybe to 5 million total. Ezra Wong, he's 26. I'm going to let him get to his price point. I'll probably bring him in right around the 4.1 mark there. So let's sim ahead. Another round. You'll see some big names coming off. DeLeon, Gentry, Spitty Miranda, Iceman Grubbs, all gone now, which is a shame. I really was interested in Grubbs, but just way too expensive. Oopsie. All right, let's see. Anybody else we could be bringing in right now? Russo, no. Wong is at 4.1. You know what? Let's bite the bullet here. He has no traits, so I don't think anybody's going to be interested in trying to bring him in. I'm going to go one more round for Wong. I think this is the time to bring in Lozano. He's 0.1 million over his price point, which I think is fine. I think he's worth paying for. He's going to develop more. We're probably going to put some money into him as well. So let's bring him in. I don't want to risk losing him. We're actually saving a little bit of money here against bring him in versus Gadman. So Gad, it was really nice having you on the team. We appreciate your service, but we're going to have to let you go here. No hard feelings and good luck going forward. So here comes Eric Lozano, younger catcher that we'll hopefully see a lot of production out of when he does come in. Let's see. We already talked about Russo and Wong. Baxter's at 0.2 million over. Wedge Stevens is 19. I think we can afford going one more round on these 0.2 million players. Is it worth it? Gosh. This is tough. I don't know if it's a good idea. So, okay, yeah, here we go. So, Tate Nash is 0.3 million over his price point. I'm not willing to risk losing him here. Even though he's 29, I'm willing to pay a little extra because of both of those traits that he has. So let's bring him in. We'll get rid of the most expensive player in Gabriella Potter for now. And let's bring him in. Next. Gosh, so this is going to be tough. I'm going to just skip all the way down to the bottom. Emmy can drop below her price just because she's 36. I don't think the game really recognizes her past performances. We can at least get her to her price. 0.3 million. Oopsie, went the wrong way here. 0.3 million, nobody else in our price point. Hold and stiff bottom at 0.2. Gabriel Wankerstein at 0.2. Rubio at 0.2. He's 19, so I think I'll bring him in as well. We bring him in to replace Demi Trampelson. And I think I am going to risk going another round before I sign anybody else. The player I'm concerned about would be Wedge Stevens here. I think we can get away with waiting a round, and boy, it's going to really backfire on me if we can't make that work. And Wankerstein as well as Stiff Bottom. I'm just going to go one more round and pray for the best here. So this is where if I push this next round button, it could throw a wrench in everything that we planned for. So let's see how it plays out. We have... So far, so good. Norbert O'Neill is gone. Okay, good. And Paul and Pugh are gone as well, which is unfortunate. Pugh goes to the Cutter, so he's going to stay in the division. That'll be interesting to deal with. So let's see. They should be either at or below their price point at this point. Nuevo, we're going to wait a little bit longer for him. Ezra Wong, Time to bring you in, buddy. You're going to replace, let's replace Josue Kelly. Next we have, so continuing to wait on Russo. Baxter, same thing. We're going to wait on him a little bit more. Wedge Stevens, price point, perfect. Let's bring you in to replace Milan Tirehead. So appreciate what you did for us, Tirehead. But the regression at the age that you're at was really frustrating to watch. And with the talent of the 73 contact, 67 power, we just did not consistently see you pull through offensively like we were expecting. So I'm hoping that our middle infield can look pretty good, even though they are a bit slower. All right, continue to move forward here. And who else we got? Wankerstein is at his price point, so let's bring him in to replace Luke Resplendent. Luke, we appreciate you. At the end of the day, it just came down to the fact that your traits weren't really doing anything for us, and you're at the point where I don't think we're really going to expect much more development from you, and you're getting expensive. So we're going this route here. I am going to miss Luke. He was an all-star for us. He pitched really well for us both years, but I think we're going to get some good stuff out of Wankerstein here. Awful name, though. I did not bring him in because of his name. All right. Holden Stiffbottom is at his price, so that's perfect. He's going to come in to replace Janaya Bango. And as you see, we're starting to pull the pieces together here. So Bango comes in to replace Stiffbottom. I'm sorry, Holden comes in to replace Janaya. I don't know what happened there. It was just a glitch. 5-pitch reliever, lefty with rally stopper and elite forkball. So really excited about his talent level and what we can expect from him. And at this point, we have 1, 2, I think that's it. First, oh, and one more. We have Emmy Dixon, who I want to at least get her to her price point, if not below. But we have only 3 more signings that we plan to make here. So let's go another round. And please, God, don't ruin us at this point. Stephenson is gone. Peichel is gone. Mirthright, Delmar, Tannen, both going to the Foresters bullpen just got so good. That's not going to be fun to deal with. All right. Take a look. Nuevo, 0.5 under. He's at 5.5 million. And let's see, who else? Simon's at 0.1 million underneath. We'll wait a little bit longer for him. And then where are you at? Emmy is at her price point. I'm not going to play the risk here, so we're just going to bring her in now, and she's going to come in for the Cadence Success spot here. So that'll get us to our actual chemistry structure. And we're at 16.5 million. And as you can see, we have 2 spaces left, so we are probably going to be paying over our $10 million threshold that we typically try to aim for. So let's go another round. I think we did pretty good here. And wait, who just got dropped? Ooh, man. Malia Hooper just got dropped. A long reliever with reverse splits and rally stopper. Let's go check her out and see what she's all about. Maybe she's young. Wait, I didn't even see. I think they showed her age, but I didn't look. Let's go by position here. Simon, I want to get him to 2.2 million. I think we can get him there. Russo is at 5.4. Might be bringing him in here in just a second. There's really not many other crafty options unless we want to pay for Leonardo Owens again, and we already saw what that looked like. Next, let's see Malia Hooper. She's disciplined, so that's a shame. She is a righty, so it would be reverse splits against to the lefties and oh my god, like switch hitters. Thank you. Jeez, just went brain fart mode there. Yeah, there's no really other options for us to consider here, so let's go ahead and keep moving. Nero was an option, but Spirited, we can't really get rid of the Spirited players that we were looking at. Let's go one more round. Just please don't sign either. Nakamenes is gone. All right. Thought that name was cool. Steven Vatamakia. Never saw that one in this game. All right, let's see where they're at. With 2 players left, and they're both kind of negligible pieces, but pieces that we plan to bring in nonetheless. Nuevo's at 5.3. I'm fine with bringing him in at this point. He's way cheaper than his price point anyways. I'm expecting him to regress quite a bit this season. And then the last player to be brought in is going to be Baxter. And there's no real other option for us to consider here. Fabian Macho Man is a weak arm. And yeah, that's going to be it. So Simon, let's get you down one more 100,000. Let's see. Any other options? Ooh, Potter goes to the Cutters. We're probably going to see her dominate against us this year. That's going to be scary. Aiden Success goes to the Platypi. Otis Riley going to the Firebirds. I'm curious to know if they have Tier 3 Disciplined. Bree Finley gone. Oh, but the Platypi made a lot of signings. Withers Gentry, former All-Star. All right, Simon. 2 million. Okay. Enough for us to bring you in, and that will actually put us at 9.2 million, which is better than I actually calculated out here. So we saved some money on a couple of those players we got below their price points, and this is good for me. I'm pretty happy with this. I definitely feel like, again, there's some players that I wish we could have gotten, and I wish that there were some better options available to us. But at the end of the day, I think based on what we've seen and what we've been able to put together, we'll have 7 competitive traits, 9 spirited traits, and only 3 crafty traits. We just really haven't seen the crafty traits popping up for us like we wanted to, and that has been really frustrating. So, okay, so at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to see what options are available to us and make sure we didn't miss anybody that we would be interested in bringing in. So I'm going to do just a quick glimpse through this, and I'm going to probably overlook any player that's not that's either disciplined or scholarly. I'm just going to skip right past them. Let's see. Norner West is still out there. He's below his price point, but I don't want to deal with him again. What do we have for? There's Rhodes, who's not too bad, but not much better than anyone we currently have on the roster. Lowbrow, we already talked about. Sandman, not a viable shortstop option. That's interesting, but I don't like having Noodle Arm, and his contact is way too low. Left fielders. So there's a lot of options in left field here that I was intrigued by, but I mean, I don't want to replace anyone that's in the outfield right now. I like our outfield with Harrington and Price and Rubio and Get Wrecked, and Anaya Corona is a very cheap option that holds up way better than her ratings would tell you. So that's where I am just kind of stuck in my ways there, despite having options like Jean Grey and Elias Gongham and Churn Romero and Ruben Baldwin still available. These are really good names, and unless Ruben gets to 1.7 million, I'm not going to spend the extra on him, and I don't think he's going to get there. So we continue to move forward here. Players like Top Rosario in the outfield. Ari Hammerhead is still available, which is so. Wait, what's Hammerhead? He is a disciplined. And what's Get Wrecked? Get Wrecked Spirited. I was gonna say, if we brought in Hammerhead for Get Wrecked at 21 years old, I would take Stimulated and the lack of flexibility to get a much better option. He'd still be a viable starter, and we wouldn't have to rely on Hammerhead. But then at that point, we have to replace Lozano with a catcher, and having to decide, we'd have to be a spirited catcher, which our option is literally only Cameron Todd. We're not going to go that route with injury prone, even at tier 1. Just not going to worry about that. Other than that, there's just no viable catching options here. Don't want to. That one's a little more intriguing if that was like contact versus lefties or righties. But I still don't want injury prone. And the only other option would be to bring in Gad Manigan, which he's way too expensive for us, even with the price savings and get wrecked. But then we'd have to worry about replacing a crafty player with a spirited player, and that just becomes a whole other can of worms that we have to deal with there. So I don't really want to deal with that. So we're not going with Hammerhead, despite the intrigue there. Looking at the starting options, the only real one for me would be if we got rid of, if we improved from Nuevo Russo. Who would we bring in to replace him who's crafty? You'd have Bitzer Dominguez, which is negligible, and he's 32, doesn't really do anything for us. We could go with Leonardo Owens and hope for a better year, but he just was so bad for us last year that I don't want to rely on him, even as our number 4. And then you get to like Adriel Colbert, who is crafty, and that's getting a little expensive. You could go with a long reliever, but there's no crafty long relievers here. And really the only one that's not a competitive player is, or not disciplined or scholarly, is Josue Kelly. Yeah, there's really no option here to bring anybody in. Nobody I'm interested in. So, all right. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fast forward. Let's go. I'm just going to skip to the end of the season. There really wasn't anybody that I was interested in. I spent a lot of time going through all this, and I don't want to get us stuck running out of time at the end. So I'm going to skip forward to the end of the offseason, and then we'll take one last look at who is in the rotation, or I mean in the free agent pool that would be available to us. And then I'll review the team once again, and we'll even set a prospective starting lineup for the first game. Oh, it's going to be against the Foresters thing. Dang it. Firebird's got Luke Resplendent, so both of our former ace pitchers are now on divisional rivals. God, I hate it. Gosh darn it. Okay, let's take a look at who is in our in the free agent pool that we could consider. David Price had way too low contact, so our catching options not viable. Navy is not terrible, but he doesn't inspire any confidence in us. Roland, I just nobody that I'm really interested in that's popping off right now. Baldwin's still out there at $3.8 million, so he almost got down to the Anaya Corona price. And Trampelson's out there. She's at $4 million now. She was way better than she had any right to be. I'm interested in her, but we wouldn't be able to get her into the onto the team. Excuse me. I had a pretty interesting idea, but I'm going to scrap it because it's just not going to work for us. Okay, so now we get into starting pitchers. There is Bitzer Dominguez still. Has he pitched at all? What has he done? Not good for the War Wagons. I remember us beating up on him, actually, when he was juiced, and he still couldn't stop us. Adley Bartlett's out there. We're not going to be interested in her. There's only 2 long relievers, and one of them I want so bad to join the team, but she's not going to get to join us. Shania Bango's out there, but that's it. Lila Grayweather is out there as well, but a closer I'm just not interested in. So that's going to be it for our options. No one we're going to star for now. We're just going to let things be as they are. Ginger Hansen, no, way too low. Never mind. I was going to say maybe she could be interesting with the workhorse, but no, those are not good traits. So from the team, just to kind of give you a little bit of recap, we brought in Eric Lozano, formerly of the Rakers. He did not play well with them, but I think we can enhance him with both of our traits to be a starter catcher. Then we have Simon Baxter back, Brock Kramer, Jocks Dennis. We'll have Raiden Coleman back, who didn't play last year except for a few games with us. He's going to platoon with Christian Black, who is back. Flip Bauer will actually be our starting second baseman now, which will be interesting. Wedge Stevens, will be our new rookie. So make note of that. One rookie on the team here as our starting shortstop. Up the middle with Flip Bauer. Harrington's back. Corona's back. Price is back. And Get Wrecked is back. But so is Aiden Rubio, another rookie to take note, will be our starting center fielder this year, enhanced by both of those traits that you see highlighted in the bottom left. And I already said Get Wrecked will be back. Tate Nash, our new ace with Tier 3 Rally Stopper, Tier 3 Workhorse, number 3 in the top 10 last year for the Woodsmiths. Pitched great in both of those years for them to start his career. Gabriel Winkerstein is a rookie, so he'll be our number 2 starter. Actually, I'm probably going to have Emmy Dixon be our number 2, and Winkerstein will drop down to 3. Dixon was the MVP last year, so she is going to be one of 2 MVPs that are on this team, including Harrington. Pitched incredibly well for the Firebirds. I'm hoping we can build off of that with her Tier 3 Workhorse trait. And then Russo surprised us with a spot start. He pitched really well. He'll be our number 4 starter. We're not going to rely too much on him, but he was there due to chemistry and his capabilities from the past. Rivas is back. He was he only pitched in a handful of games, but he pitched well when we did rely on him. Ellen Booth is, of course, going to be the cornerstone of our bullpen. Hopefully she continues to develop. And Holden Stiffbottom with Tier 3 Rally Stopper, along with Booth, are going to really be the reliable options in the bullpen. Stiffbottom, let's see what he did. Last year he pitched for the last 2 years he pitched for the Platypi. Didn't look good. I'm hoping he plays better with us. Yikes. Quincy Healthy back for another year, and yeah, he was really rough in his second year with us, but he settled down in the back half. He pitched well in the playoffs as well in his one appearance, and again, not somebody we have to rely on as much anymore. And then Ezra Wong was here in year 1, didn't pitch well in year 2, but has really only had limited options, so not really expecting him to do much at all. And let's go ahead and actually, we can sim ahead to our next game. So let's go ahead and quick sim these first 4 games of the year. And our first game will be against the Foresters. We faced them, I think, in year 2 as our starting year, or as our first game of the year as well. But we were away. This is going to be a home game. Now I'm going all over the place. It's home and it's a doubleheader. So Foresters will be our first 2 games, then the Rakers. Then we go straight into a Chompers rematch. We lost to them in the playoffs. We definitely want to get revenge on them, and we'll be at home for the first 6 games of the season. We go to the Burners, the Heaters. We come home to the Firebirds, and we go away for 6 straight games. Cutters, Colossus, Foresters, Rakers, Chompers, and then we end the year with the Cutters, which hopefully is a high note. I think we have a team that can compete for the playoffs this year, and I am really hopeful for it. So let's set the lineup before we finish things off. I'm going to get everybody in the right places first, and then I will move them in the order. They want Zeke Price at second base, which is silly. We're going to put Zeke in... Actually, now it has me thinking. No, we're not doing that. Flip is going, at least for this first game, we'll see if things change later. Flip is going to be our second baseman. Christian Black is going to be our third baseman. Kramer is going to be our first baseman. He's the better first baseman over Dennis. Dennis is going to be our DH. Harrington in the left. Lozano behind the plate. Get Wrecked is not going to be in the starting lineup. Instead, we'll swap with Price, and then we're going to put Wedge Stevenson at shortstop. Why do I keep calling him Wedge Stevenson? I'm almost going to change his name to do that. He's going to be our starting shortstop. Now let's put them in the right order. I want to see Rubio. Actually, he's a rookie. I I don't want to put that pressure on him right away. So let's put Kramer in the leadoff spot. We'll follow that with Zeke Price. Then I want to put Dennis as our number 3 hitter. Let's put Lozano at 4. This is I feel like this is a pretty deep lineup. Harrington, Bauer, then we can go with Rubio, Stevens, and Black. And I'm actually going to give Black the spot over Stevens just because he was a surprise producer for us last year. So to quick recap, Brock Kramer leading off at first base, followed by Zeke Price in right field. We'll have Jacques Dennis in the DH spot. He was our number 1 hitter last year. Eric Lozano will be our number 4 hitter and catcher. He will have tier 3 RBI hero and tier 3 first pitch slayer. Adriana Harrington, who had a rough second year, will try and get back to her MVP form from year 1. She'll be in the number 5 spot in left field. We have Flip Bauer, who's playing second base this year. Aiden Rubio will be our starting center fielder. Tier 3 power versus lefties, tier 3 tough out. And we have Christian Black at third base and Wedge Stevens at shortstop. And what you're also going to see on the bench is Get Wrecked, who can play all infield positions and outfield positions. We have Coleman, who can play third and short. We have Anya Corona, who can play left and right field. And we have Simon Baxter, who can play just catcher, but has tier 3 cannon arm. And that is going to be the team. And the lineup for our first game of the season against the Foresters in a doubleheader to start the year. I do want to check and make sure that... So Harrington should be still with her. Yep, all white. Let's go ahead and make sure that Emmy Dixon has it as well. Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's not right. So we have to just I should probably just do this in the off season, or I mean, outside of this video, because you can see it's glitching a little bit. Why do I even have that as an orange color? Do I have orange in this? I don't know. I'll have to look at it later. Just get this all fixed for Emmy, who was the MVP last year and now is going to be our number 2 starter. Really excited about what we have with her in the starting rotation. And let's finish off by just making sure that we don't have any options for player development. The only option is Ezra Wong, who would lose accuracy and gain velocity, but a chance to gain volatile as well. And I'm not interested in that, so we won't spend the money on Ezra, and there won't be any other PDO options before we get into the season. So that is where we will leave things off. We finally have a team for year 3, a chance to try and get redemption and fight our way back into the playoffs and hopefully go much further next year. But thank you so much for watching this. Again, a different format from what I've done in the past for the off season, but please let me know what you thought about the idea of the roster structure and the breakdown of this video with options that we were considering. Let me know who you're most interested from new players on this team. Who do you think won't return back to form from last year? Who do you think is going to do better than they were last year? And if you like this video, please, if you haven't already, like the video. If you're enjoying the content, please subscribe to the channel for more. Can't wait to get into Season 3, where hopefully the Tundras can finally take a turn into being a dominant team in not only the division and the conference, but the league as a whole. We need to get ourselves a championship ring. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you all next time. Bye, everybody.